Hello everyone, my name is Okwandia and I'm the sales engineer at ElectroNeek. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about using the do while loop with arrays and also with tables. So let's go ahead and jump into the video. I'm going to start out here by creating my variable, which the value of this variable is going to be an array. So here we're just going to say that variable name will be variable1, and we're going to set a value, calculate a value, and we're going to put in brackets our array. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now we have our array. Now we can go ahead and pull out our do while loop activity, attach our flow connector, and we can start following the instructions that we see here in the comment context. So here we're going to indicate our variable name. So I will be our variable name for iteration, and we will go in to set our variable. This will be 0. Now we'll go ahead and set the condition for our trigger. So I'm going to go ahead and hit advanced here. And what I want to indicate that if I is less than, and since we're pulling information from the variable, I'm going to do variable1, and then it's going to be dot length because we're wanting to know the length of this array. My next indicator step here will be what we want to do with the information. I just want to process the information to a console log. And for the information that's going to be populated to the console log, for that message, I want to calculate a value here. And in this field, I would like to populate variable1. And then I'm going to put in brackets I. So whatever is popping up for variable 1 at the time of iteration, I would like to populate that information down below in the console log. And then we're going to assign our value to variable. This will be I to change the iteration at the very last step before processing the next loop. Here, this will be calculate a value, and it's going to be I plus 1 because we want to continuously increase plus 1 through the entire array. So let's go ahead and run this workflow now. Alrighty, and as we can see down here in the console log, we now have the objective data from our array. Now let's scroll down and let's start talking about using the do while loop with a table. So let's go ahead and get a table constructed so we can use the do while loop with that data. I'm going to be pulling this table from my database. So I'll go ahead into programming and databases. I'm going to connect to database. I also want to execute query. I'm just going to disarm that flow connector. So after I execute query, I'm going to want to go into general inside of logic and assign value to variable because I want to save the data that's presented from my query as a variable. So here I'll establish my connection to the database. I have a sticky note that has my information for my database, so I'll go ahead and copy and paste by entering my host information, my port information, my database name. In this specific table, I don't want to pull this one that's listed, so I'll identify the table that I do want to get connected to. And then identify my login and password. All right, and just to verify that information that I have, I can open up my SQL server here to verify any of my server information, as well as the database that I'm looking to get connected to. As we can see here is the new underscore employees, and I'll be able to identify there what type of table that I want to select when I execute the query. I'm going to choose my database type, Microsoft SQL. So now here that we know we want to execute a query, we'll go into our SQL Server. What I can do from this table page is select my new employees info or my EMP. If I were to select the top 100 rows, I'm able to see what is presented on that table. For example, there is only 2 subjective lines in this table. And if I were to open up this table here, which would be the new employees info, select top 100 rows, I will be able to see that table, which is the table that we're going to be using because it has more data. So now what I can do is select from the top, and I can copy this information, open up my ElectroNeek Studio Pro, execute my query, and then save that as my query data. Save the previous step result. Okay, now that we have our variable for our query data, we can go ahead and run this. Let me start from this part, and let me rerun that. Now we can see in our variables our query data. If we were to go into our show source value, we'll be able to see the array form of each one of our characteristics. And this is what we're going to use to iterate through and identify specific information. All right, so I'm going to go into my general and pull out the do while loop. Identify my parameters. So again, we're going to have our I set value as 0. And now we're able to set up our if then. And I'm going to say inside of our advanced, if I is less than query data dot length. Then we're going to perform a set of actions here. So I'm just going to have another if then so we can pull out some specifics from the information and data that's going to be presented. So here for our if then, we're going to do advanced and say that if query data, and then we're going to be referencing from our variables. So let's say we wanted to pull out an employee name. I would go to my if then, and then put in parentheses I, and then employee name, because that's what we're looking for. Employee underscore name equal. And for the name that we're looking for, I'm going to be looking for Jason Daniels, because that is one of the employees in which we have. And we're going to say that if it is equal to Jason Daniels, then we want to populate some information to the console log. and the information that we want to have populated to the console log. I'm going to calculate a value, and I want to pull the employee position. Calculate a value, and I will do query data I and then employee position. So now you should have this factor inside of your console log. And now we're going to go ahead and set up our I counter, and where I plus I, sorry, I plus 1. And we can see that Jason Daniels' employee position has been populated to the console log. Thank you so much for tuning into this video, and happy automation from ElectroNeek.